It's time for a quest! Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I've got a really exciting episode of back issue hauls. I've gotten in a bunch of cool stuff all at once, and I'm really excited to show it off. As I teased at the end of the last episode, this time around we're going to be starting a quest. You may have picked up on that from the intro, but we've got a big quest starting, and I'll explain everything about the quest. And then I've also got this great pack of comics that Kyle sent me. Again, thank you, Kyle. We did a trade, and he also threw in a bunch of stuff, and there's some really cool stuff. I particularly want to say, I know I show a lot of romance stuff on here. That's not necessarily everyone's thing. There's a bunch of stuff coming up here that's not romance. There's still some, but there's some horror and some other interesting stuff that I don't normally get. So I'm really excited to show that off. And I thought the best way to kick off this quest is to show you something that's actually not comics, but I just got in. I'm really excited for it. What can I say? I'm a total nerd burger, and I went down an eBay rabbit hole, and the nostalgia just grabbed me by the throat and pulled me into the cave, and I ended up not just with this, but also with this. Yes, it's the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide and Player's Handbook from 1979. I'm so excited to get these. These are the ones that I grew up with. There was a neighbor kid, kid in the neighborhood who had a whole giant collection of all this D&D stuff. And so I got introduced to Dungeons & Dragons in the summer of 1980, and I loved playing Dungeons & Dragons. At every chance I could get, I would try and convince the other kids in the neighborhood to play D&D that day. I absolutely loved it. So just seeing this artwork just brings me back. Obviously, these are pretty beat up. The interior pages are actually really nice. I got an okay deal on it, I think, and I don't know much about this stuff, but I looked through some eBay sold listings, and I'm not sure I got a deal, but I didn't overpay for them. I think it was $52 for the set of the two. So I'm really excited to get these, and I thought, hey, we're starting a quest this episode, so what better way to start off your quest than with some classic Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. So that's just a little tease, and now we're going to jump right into the quest. Then we'll have a few odds and ends, and then we're going to finish the video with this great AOK that I got in from Kyle. You're really going to dig some of these awesome books. So let's get right into it and start that quest. You guessed it. Another batch of Archies. So this is another lot of stuff from my comic shop, aka Lone Star Comics. Now, as I've mentioned, I bought a big lot last time of Archies in video number 6 in my haul. I had a whole ton of Archies that I picked up because I was buying something else with them, and I was like, we might as well get the rest of these. And I thought I was going to have like 30 issues left on my checklist, but actually I discovered when I took a look at it, I was only missing 11 issues of Archie to have issues 159 and up all the way to present. 550 straight issues of Archie. And so I went back to my comic shop, and they already had some of them in stock, and so I picked those up here. And as usual with a My Comic Shop order, they're in no particular order, but so we have issue 263, 179, 332, 164, 340. There's an interesting note on it. It says Betty and Veronica Ski Fashions by Charles Ventura of Chicago, Illinois. It's a little unusual for that to be on the cover. And finally, issue 261. So that's, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count them, 6 issues of Archie that I was missing. So I'm going to start doing a running tally of the quest. I'm going to have over here the 11 issues I was missing. And then we've just gotten 6 of them, so we're going to... So I'm down to just 5 issues of Archie to have 159 and up all the way to the present. There are certain issues of Archie that are extremely expensive. I don't want to say valuable. I want to make a distinction. They're expensive even though they're not valuable because they have double entendre covers. They're covers where adult collectors now have gone back and looked at these and they've thought to themselves that the people making the covers were intentionally putting sexual innuendo in the covers as adult humor. And now there's lots of covers with double entendres and innuendo. That's kind of the whole Archie gag. But there's 3 or 4 in particular that collectors think have this like salacious, I don't know what. It's, to me, it's idiotic. It's very sort of like, you know, a 10-year-old at recess giggling over these adult jokes. He he he. And the idea of paying an exorbitant amount of money for these covers is ridiculous to me. A couple of them, okay, maybe they were intentional. Who cares? But the ones to look out for if you're ever at a flea market or something is Betty and Me 16 is the most famous one. I've sold copies of that for $50+ before, low grade beat up copies. That runs 3 figures a lot of the time for mid grade or above. Archie 271 is another one. I have that one already, thank goodness. That's another one where, again, you're looking at $50 to $100, maybe more if it's in higher grade. But I've discovered, unfortunately, that one of my issues still on the list is one of these stupid double entendre covers. It's Archie 511. I'll show the cover here. And there's no way I'm going to pay the money. The cheapest I've found it so far online is $83 plus shipping. There's one on eBay for $83. I've seen, it's not just asking prices either. I have actually gone into the purchase history, and people are paying 3 figures for this Archie 511. The tricky part for me, I don't want to pay that because I'm a completionist. I couldn't care less about this stupid cover. I just want to read the stories and finish that part of my run. So I'm not going to pay $100 for this. But the other thing is, Archie 511 is legitimately much more difficult to find than either Betty and Me 16 or Archie 271, because those both came in the 70s during Archie's big boom period. And so at the time, their titles were selling hundreds of thousands of copies. By the time you get to Archie 511, the distribution is much, much smaller. I don't have the exact sales figures. If I had to guess, I guess they were probably at that time selling 60 to 80,000 copies tops. They would have been printing more because they're still newsstand distribution. But there's far fewer copies of 511 were printed, and so there's far fewer copies that are available. So it's tough. The other one on my list that is going to be a little tricky is 321 for not quite the same reason, but it has a cover with a redhead on it, and there's this cult of Cheryl Blossom, and so those people are going to want to pay extra money because Cheryl Blossom's on the cover, and it's not even her. She's not even identified as Cheryl. It's just a redhead during the period she appeared. So there's the quest. Here's the numbers, and when we get the next one, we're going to blast another one off the list, and that'll put me down to 4. And we'll see what comes tomorrow. Well, I got so excited talking about my Archie things that I forgot one other comic that came in the box from my comic shop, and that is Son of Tomahawk, number 139. This leaves me with just 1 issue left to finish the 11-issue run, or 10-issue run of Tomahawk, Hawk, Son of Tomahawk. They list this as a VG+. It looks really nice to me. If you buy things from my comic shop, my experience has been that they're very generous with their grading, particularly sort of in mid-grade. They grade a lot of things at like a 4.5 or 5 that I would have more of as a 6 or even a little higher. So you can get some really good deals. They're very, very tight. on their mid-grade books. So I'm excited to get this. Now I just need the last issue 140, which they have this really cool new logo on it that only appeared on one issue. So yeah, excited to get that and just wanted to show that off. All right, so another day, and I've got something very exciting here. This isn't a purchase. It's actually some comics that I want to thank Kyle for. Kyle has been supporting my channel here and watching and commenting on my videos, and I really appreciate it. And after one of my previous videos, he saw something in there that he thought was cool. So we started discussing doing an old-fashioned comic swap. We didn't even really look at values or anything. It was just like, those look cool, and I was like, well, those look cool, and we just swapped the comics like kids on a school playground. So I've got an actual literal shoebox here that he mailed, filled with comics, and I know what some of them are, but I know that he also threw in a few things as a surprise. So I'm going to open the box now, and we're going to take a look at all the cool stuff that Kyle sent me. Again, thank you so much, Kyle. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to get comics and trade comics, and I really appreciate all the support. Last time I got a shoebox in the mail, a short story real quick. I was at Fenway Park for a Red Sox game, and they had this thing between innings where they're having a dance competition where everyone dances around and they show you on screen, and I didn't realize that I was actually on the Jumbotron participating in a dancing competition. I was just dancing, and I ended up winning a free pair of shoes, and so I got a box of shoes in the mail as a result of winning the Fenway Park Jumbotron dance contest. This is even more exciting than that. Even more exciting, because this doesn't have shoes in it, it has comic books. Here we are, our first book in the batch. It's Girls Love Stories 135. A great tennis cover by John Rosenberger. Really underrated. There's some great covers from this era where they really switched up the cover design from the formula they had been using for like a decade and started doing some really dramatic work here. This also has the original owner's name written at the top. It says Kathy Doan right here. I really love that sort of thing. I know some people don't like to have writing on their covers, but when it's a kid's name, I love it. Absolutely love it. So here's a book. I haven't seen this one before. It's called Shiver in the Dark. This is one of the surprise books. I'm looking forward to digging into this. Cool. Yeah, I haven't seen this. Thanks very much, Kyle. I'll have to pop that open later. Oh, what's this? Teen romance stories. I've never seen this before. It says it's from 1999. It's interesting. Like, the faces on here look, I mean, they're obviously Archie style, but they're specifically, there's a couple of quirks on the art style that look very much like early Dan Parent work. He was already working at Archie by this point, though, and I don't see, his signature on it. But the girl's face in particular looks very Dan Parent to me. So if this isn't Parent, then it's someone that was clearly taking a cue. This is really cool. Thanks so much, Kyle. This is great. Here we have, it's a flip book. I Love You, 115, Art Capello. Very underrated. Some of his later work, this is right towards the tail end of Charlton Romance. It's very sort of simple, but it's very design heavy, and I really like his work more and more as I get into his stuff. The flip side, really cool. It's Ghostly Tales, number 169. Oh, it's a 75-cent Charlton. This is interesting. I've never seen a 75-cent Charlton book that had the circle. The other 75-cent Charltons that I have like a stripe across here, and I love getting the 75-cent Charltons. So that's really cool. And oh, it's got a Mike Zeck cover on it too. Um, yeah, it's dated 84. Of course, by this time, Zeck was moving on. It was at Marvel for quite a while. I have a feeling this is a reprint from his early days. Love and Romance, number 16. Really cool colors on this. It's very 60s. Just the fashions, the colors. Love and Romance is one of their later books, and there's a lot of really cool issues. Here's Haunted Love, number 1. It's the Modern Comics reprint. I do love Haunted Love. I was just looking at my checklist the other day. I'm down to just 3 issues of Need for Haunted Love. These modern comics books are always interesting. What I like about this is that it says first edition up here, but it's actually a reprint. So this is great. Teen Confessions, number 72. Oh, it's got a free pinup poster of Susan Day on the inside. As a child of the 80s, I knew her from, just blanked on the name of it. As a lawyer, the LA Law was the name of it. Yeah, in the mid 80s. Renegade Press, Murder. Very cool. Renegade, it's interesting. I don't know what the association is between Renegade Press and Aardvark Vanaheim, who published Cerebus, but you can tell the connection by the price font and the number box. I'm such a nerd. Ooh, it's all new Scary Tales. I'm just checking. Reinhold and O'Connell. Very cool. The more Charlton I get, the more Charlton I want to get, which is a big rabbit hole to slip down. But Patsy and Hetty, Career Girls 107. I can check this off my list. I'm getting pretty close now to having the run that I want from this, which is issues 95 and up through 110. I think I'm missing 6. I have 9 of them now, so I'm getting there. Here's one of the big ones. It is Love Letters, number 51. It's one of the later Matt Baker covers. Matt Baker's pre-code stuff is what he's famous for, but he also did quite a bit of fair amount of post-code work for Quality and later for Atlas. And it's crazy that when he was working at Atlas, they weren't having him do the covers. They were having his protege Vince Colletta do the covers, and they're cool. But this is a really nice Matt Baker cover. Laugh, number 33. Very excited to get this. Laugh is sort of the third of the Archie, long-running Archie series. It doesn't get the attention as the other two. Of course, Archie debuted in Pep, and that ran for decades. And then he got his own series, Archie, and that ran for decades. And because of the popularity of those two, I think in 1946, they switched to Laugh. They changed it to Laugh from the was originally a different title. I think it was a superhero book. They changed it to Laugh at number 20, and they made it into the third Archie book. And this ran all the way up until the early 90s. It got, I think, past issue 400, and then they relaunched it, and the second series ran for like 30 issues or so. So it's a very long-running, early important Archie series, but it doesn't get the respect among collectors that the other two titles do. And I think that's starting to change a little bit, but I'm really excited. Anytime I can get Archie books from this era with like this stamp, I love them. Here is a classic horror book. It's Fantastic Fears, number 7, aka number 1. This was one of these things that back at the time, there was an idea, which sounds crazy to us now, that number 1 issues wouldn't sell. So what they would do is they would just make up a number and start on that. So this was listed as number 7. I don't actually even see that on the cover, but I think on the interior it's listed as number 7. And then they did a number 8, and then with the 3rd issue they changed the numbering to number 3, and then they started putting on the cover. So this is a classic, cool horror comic, pre-code horror, which is always a lot of fun. Speaking of pre-code horror, it is Tales of Terror, number 1, another pre-code horror book with a really cool cover. I think this is a one-shot. I don't think there was a second issue on this one. Diary of Loves, number 18. Photo covers don't get nearly as much play among romance collectors as drawn covers. And with a few exceptions, most of the stories are considered kind of to be interchangeable. So with romance books, a lot of the desirability comes from the cover image. So because there's a few photo covers of celebrities that are hot, but most of them don't really get as much love, unfortunately, no pun intended. But very cool. This is Terry Moore and Jerome Cortland, stars of the Columbia film The Barefoot Mailman. When I got this from the mailman today, I did not check to see if he was barefoot. And finally, another bonus book, very cool. It's Who Done It? Who Shot Danny Scott? Be the first to solve the mystery, and you can win $1,000 cash. This feels like a Charlton book because they used to have these blurbs all over the cover for contests and stuff. The cover's by Brent Anderson, but down here it's listed as being by Mark Evanier and Dan Spiegel, and I'm a big fan of them as a creative team. They really got me into comics with their Blackhawk series. I'm not as big on like Crossfire. It's cool, but I'm always happy to read something of theirs that I haven't read before, so I'm excited to get this. So a lot of great books. I'm really, really excited to get these. Thank you so much, Kyle. What a bunch of awesome books. I can't wait to read these. And thank you so much. And thanks everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed looking at these cool comics, and I'll see you next time.